Hey everybody, welcome back to We Are Podcast. This is We Are Bagu Season 2, Episode 7, Antstream Arcade with Brandon Keenen. If this is your first time checking out the podcast network, please head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or iTunes, and give We Are Podcast Network a like. And if you get a chance, head over to our social media. All links can be found in the description. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at /We Are Podcast. And with that said, on to the podcast.
We Are Bagu.
Hey everybody, welcome to We Are Bagu, a video game podcast where we talk Atari to Steam and everything in between. My name is Duck. I am here today with my very special guest, Brandon Keenen. Brandon, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm great, man. I'm glad we're finally doing this. I've been looking forward to this. So this is really cool.
Dude, I saw your interview with Billy Mitchell whenever you guys talked Pac-Man and everything. I watched that live as you streamed it. From that moment, I was a fan. I thought that was super cool that you talked to him. I thought that was badass. I really did. I was like, that is so cool. Hopefully someday we'll get to talk to the Mitchell ourselves, but I would have been shaking in my booties talking to him. He is a very intimidating person. I've seen him in person. I did not speak to him because he was very intimidating.
Cool. He's cool, man. He's what a dynamic character. And, you know, there's half the people hate him, half the people love him. And I found him really genuine and nice and all that. I try not to get too much into the controversy around him because I frankly, it's one of those like internet, he said, she said, I have no idea. And I'm not an expert. So I just took him at face value for the man he is. And I got to tell you, he seemed like a really nice dude. And I did spend a lot of time with him in the background, just talking to him and prepping for that. And he was just really gracious and nice and really helpful and everything the opposite of what his persona is. So I did have a lot of time for him.
We're apologists for him. We think that he did nothing wrong. We're on his side on this podcast. Our tagline is, "You ain't Billy Mitchell, bitch." That's been that way since the very beginning. So we absolutely love Billy Mitchell, but we are very nervous to hopefully one day talk to him. We'll see what happens. But we're talking to you today. So I want to talk about your career and how you got to where you are now, which is working for Antstream Arcade, an online service that provides retro gaming. Is there a tagline for Antstream?
There is. I mean, we tried, where the legends are, and we've kind of changed it around. Right now, it's just, it is kind of let's play, or, there's a lot of things we got, but it's kind of where the legends are, all the games in one place. But I think we kind of changed that around. I'm the marketing guy, so I should probably come up with one a little bit. But no, it's cool, man. I started out, I've been in media and marketing for a long time. Always played video games. I was a total video. I mean, the arcade was basically my segregate parents. I mean, my parents were they both worked. I'm from Arizona, US, and I was kind of a latchkey kid where my parents were never there pretty much because they were always working. So I'd go to the arcade almost every day and just go crazy in the super fun arcade in Phoenix, Arizona, and always had consoles and just played. And I was kind of one of those guys, I'm kind of that introvert extrovert, so I can do the extrovert stuff fine. But I'd always prefer to just be locked in a room and playing games. But I kind of found a balance to be able to do a bit of both. And all of a sudden the opportunity came up to work in the video game industry. And I always thought it was a hard industry to get into. And it probably is, I think a lot of people would love to work in the industry, but the opportunity came up and my motto is say yes more than no. So I got to do this and jump in and get to talk to people who created the games that I grew up on. It's been awesome. So being part of something that I get to play is crazy to me.
What were the arcades like in the 80s? I experienced them at the tail end, right before they kind of disappeared. And I love that there's a movement now bringing them back, especially retro beer arcades where you can get your drink on and you play on. But what were the original arcades like? Were they the smoky, dim dungeons that people spoke of? Or
no, I mean, I was growing up in Phoenix. Paradise Valley Mall was where the food court was. And there's all the, I remember Pizza D'Amore and the Orange Julius. And then right in the middle was the super fun arcade. So you always go down there. Mom would take a shot, she'd go shopping and say, well, you guys go, on the weekends. And we just sit in there. We'd go get a pizza. It was square pizza. I remember that weirdly. And then you just walk into super fun and it's everything you thought. I mean, it just had this awful carpet. So all this, like the new art, it's called like vaporwave, where it's like the neon and the lines and stuff. It was that. It was neon lined carpet, bit smelly, no smoking. I don't think you're allowed to smoke it. It's mostly kids, but it was 2 floors. You walk in and then you had to go up a few floors. And there was always a creepy guy in the back that just sat in some really tiny room. And you had to, in America, they're called fanny packs. In England, they're called bum bags, but I don't think fanny and bum transfer over.
Well, you can't call them fanny packs over there.
Yeah, don't call them fanny packs over here. That's for sure. So, and for the podcast sake, I am based in London, so I don't sound like I'm from here, but I can do an English accent if that makes us more exotic. But there was always a guy in the back, and you had to go up and get your tokens, and yeah, man, it was just games everywhere, and you walk around, and there was always one game with a crowd behind it. Everyone just kind of watching some guy kicking ass on the leaderboard, and then I'd always just wander because I have some sort of weird tick in my brain that I have to be on top of a leaderboard. So I'd just go find the games that I thought I can win at, and I'd sit there and I'd play. I remember playing like, what is it, GT Moto? It was a Sega game, the old one where it was just like, where you just and I always wanted to be the top because the leaderboard was identified above the game. So I wanted my name, my BK initials to be up there. But I never really, like, the Mortal Kombats and all those games came in a little bit later, but there was always like Karate Champ was my game, the GT Moto, Skate 720, and then Paperboy, man, with the handlebars.
Oh, yeah.
All the time. But yeah, I'd spend hours there, man. And, like $20, you could probably get 3-4 hours in the arcade. And back then it was about 25 cents a game. And then I saw it start growing when Dragon's Lair came in and some of the bigger games, like Harrier, Super Harrier, those kind of games, they started charging $1.25. And then arcades to me became untouchable because it got too expensive. Like the 25-cent games was about what I could afford, $20, but to go in there and drop $50-$60 was too much. So I had to go get a console at that point.
Yeah, but 3 to 4 hours worth of gameplay for $20 isn't bad. Plus, I mean, I don't know how social you were at the time. It sounded like you said you were a bit of an introvert. You like to keep to yourself, but there's something that builds into you through video game socialization. That was one of my big things when I was a kid, was we could talk a common language amongst the video game nerds, and we would share codes on the bus, or like Mortal Kombat, Abacab, and things like that. So there was a social aspect to it. Did you find that there was a social aspect to it for you too, or did you keep to yourself most of the time?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm thinking about it and my memories, and we all Super Fun Arcade. I kind of went in there alone, and I think I was a little bit younger. I was probably only like 10, so this is like 1983. Prime 80s arcade, Space Invaders. I think Karate Champ might have been there, 84. I don't think I played much. My brother was a little bit older, and he was really good at games, and I'm crap at games, but I love them. I have I just got to keep playing, so I'm a persistent gamer, but I'm just awful. And if you watch me play any of the if you watch me play like a first person, like a shooter game now, even like Fortnite or Apex, I play a lot of Battlefield. I am awful at shooting. I'm like Stevie Wonder, just out there trying to. So there used to be a grocery store down the street from me, and I remember they had Karate Champ, Missile Command, and Paperboy. So just 3 arcades in the corner. And yeah, that was social, man. We'd ride our dirt bikes up there, and we'd sit there, and we'd have 5 or 6 of us, and we'd just crowd around. And Karate Champ was the first game where it was a 2-player. Mm-hmm. So you would actually sit there and play your friends, and we had little tournaments. And so yeah, that was my social gaming. We'd all just kind of meet there at a certain time. We didn't have cell phones back then, so you can't really say, so you just said meet at 3 after school. And we'd all be there. And those games, I remember those were like a dime. So it was cool. We were just 10 cents and dropping them in. So it was cool.
You were on the leaderboard of that game, correct?
Yeah, on Karate Champ, I was pretty good. And I was on leaderboard on Antstream for a while. I think I don't think I am anymore. But.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was on there earlier playing the BK Challenge is what I was calling it. Space Invaders is what's going on. And I'm telling you what, I was struggling. I was trying to get up there, and I was having a blast. But we'll get into kind of how that works here in a little bit.
Yeah, cool.
I wanted to talk about, you have a history for working with CNN and other places as a digital commercial director. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I've been in media. So I worked at my first kind of soiree was I ran my own business for a while in Arizona, and then the economy crashed in 2007. And, I decided I'm going to move to England, man, and try something new. So I jumped on a plane with my kids and my wife, and we 27 suitcases and moved to England. And I kind of reinvented myself and moved into the media world. So I started working at companies. I got a job at AOL. I was very fortunate to work there and had a great time, but really worked on that stuff. Then as my career unfolded, I ended up working at BuzzFeed with my old boss from AOL. And BuzzFeed was a cool thing. I was the oldest guy at BuzzFeed. It was like a really young company, but it was a really cool company just to see how they do it. And then left BuzzFeed and went to CNN. CNN was really cool too. I mean, it's a global company. I mean, CNN's an interesting animal because, love them or hate them, whatever political side you stand on in the States, they are global U.S. news. You look at other companies like Fox News, and that's U.S. news, and people watch it in the U.S. Nobody watches Fox outside of the U.S. CNN is everywhere. You walk into Africa, you walk into Singapore, you walk into other countries, and everybody knows CNN. It is definitely an international powerhouse for media. But yeah, no, that was fun, man. I worked there a couple years, and that's when the opportunity for Antstream came up, and I got to work on the marketing side, and I haven't looked back. It's just been awesome, and I get to talk about video games and meet my heroes, and I've got to fly to Japan and sit at Taito and Bandai and, meet people who've created these games, and it's just like pinch myself going, this can't be real. I'm in Tokyo and I'm talking to video. I mean, Tokyo is like the capital of video games, or I'm down I was in New York with Atari, and I'm wearing an Atari hat and just I'm like, this makes no sense to me. So I got that opportunity to jump. So I jumped.
That sounds so awesome. It sounds nerve wracking, but it also sounds super exciting at the same time.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, Japanese video games, arcades in Japan. I mean, that is just next level, man. They love arcade games in Japan. It is like crazy.
And you get to be part of the preservation of a lot of these games. I was reading an article when you were talking about some of these games are almost disappearing. They're next to impossible to find or to play. And through Antstream, you're able to actually enjoy them in a way that is pretty much, I think, the exact same as the arcade equivalent. Everything I've seen that's went through Antstream, I feel like I'm just playing the arcade game on my computer or tablet or whatever you'll be playing it. So it's really cool that you get to be part of that preservation and save these games and so that they're there. The last thing I want to ask you, you're a musician, is that correct?
I am. Oh man, yeah. You've done some research. I am a musician. I'm a fledgling musician, but I will be someday. This podcast will be. They'll be like, wow, I will be a famous rock and roll star someday. So I just, I'm 48 years. I'm 48 years old, but I think it's gonna happen, man.
It's never too late to start. That's the thing. It doesn't matter where you're at. What do you play? Or do you sing?
So I played drums since I was like 10, and I was a drummer my whole life, and then I was in a band not too long ago playing drums, and our singer wasn't very good. And I decided, you know what, I want to be a singer. So my band said, yeah, you can be the singer. We found another drummer. And now we do, I think if you ask me what our genre is, I'm the singer. I would say it's Jim Morrison meets Black Sabbath.
Hell yeah. I'm totally
so we're kind of like metal blues. Our guitarist is really into like Iron Maiden. I'm really into kind of the Doors and blues. And so we just kind of got this vibe and this mix, and we're going to hopefully get to the studio in a couple of months and actually record and be on Spotify, but just for shits and giggles, man. It's kind of fun. But I love music's always been a huge part of my life. Music and gaming. I think, my ADD kicks in and I'm just all about music and games, and everything else I hate. Like I can't handle normal life stuff, but music and games is basically all I'm good at.
What is the name of the band? That way we can keep an eye out for them.
Right now it's called Super Zero. But you won't find it anywhere on the internet. I do have some SoundCloud stuff, but it will be Super Zero, but it's fun, man. It's just like a little side project for sure.
Absolutely. And I looked everywhere today for music, so I'm happy to know that it's coming our way eventually here.
Yeah. So I can't don't get too excited, but it's just a fun project. My only goal, I got two goals. One is I want music on Spotify just for the heck of it. Because I think a legacy a lot, and like when we die, what do we leave behind? And I think probably guys who develop games are like think that same way. You make a game and it's there forever, and even when you're gone, people will talk about it. To me, if I can leave a few songs on Spotify and my kids can say that's my dad, I think that's cool. And the other thing is I want to play at a UK like a music festival. So you don't care if I'm on the side stage, I don't care if I'm in a tent and nobody's listening. I just want to say that I played at a festival.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Have you played out live at all?
We have played a little bit live, so I think we're pretty good, man, to be honest. But we're kind of embracing a midlife crisis band. We're a bunch of middle-aged guys that are like, wanted to do music our whole life, and now we're finally at a point where we're like, you know what? Fuck it, let's just play, man. And and we're never too old. So we're embracing midlife crisis.
And as long as it brings you happiness and joy. I have a friend right now who's going out to coffee shops and just playing acoustic and singing, and he's living his dream, and it's one of those things where it's small scale, big scale, it doesn't matter. As long as you're enjoying creating the art and being part of it, that's what it's all about.
I got so much respect for anyone that can make a living. My cousin, Chad Rubin in Arizona makes a living at music, and I'm like, I just look at him in just pure awe. I think, you know what? If anyone can make a living doing any sort of art, music, painting, anything, even creating games, I think it's incredible. And I think those people are like, those are always my idols. Anyone that can make a living doing something they love.
I love the fact that you said games too, because a lot of people don't consider games art. There's a famous quote from Steven Spielberg that says, when games will make you cry at level 52, that's when they'll be considered art. And it's often been considered, well, he never played Final Fantasy VII, because whenever one of the main characters dies, a lot of nerds teared up.
You never played Shenmue, or what's the other one? Silent Hill. Was that game used to scare the? And you talk about emotion, man. That game actually scarred me. I still can't even watch horror movies because I used to play that game and walking through like the hospital and just be like, that little girl. This freaks me out. So.
Oh yeah, Resident Evil 2 was mine. Resident Evil 2 scared me so much, and then I became addicted to the horror, and that's why we have our own horror podcast now, because I love horror movies so much.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
Let's get into talking about Antstream, because I'm excited about this. Antstream Arcade is founded, 2012 or before that?
Yeah, somewhere around there, I think in that range. I think it's been about 8 or 9 years for sure.
And what it is basically Spotify or Netflix for video games. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think from a general term, if you were to explain it to someone in a quick second sentence, that would be the way. And I think people would instantly get it. But obviously the dynamic of Spotify and Netflix is not reactive and gaming is reactive. And that's always the challenge with game streaming. Streaming something on Netflix, you're usually watching buffering 3 or 4 seconds ahead, where gaming you can't, because you have to have responsiveness. And you can challenge friends and you can send invitations over and you're playing tournaments. So it's an interactive kind of Spotify, Netflix type experience. So it's a full experience and fully connected. But our goal, we've got about 4,000 games licensed, only about 1,100 of them on the platform now. Our goal is to have every game from Pong to now. We're pretty ambitious. Preservation is important. We're purists. We want the games to be in their pure form. We work with the licensors. It's all licensed. And we want the games to be in their original ROMs, how you would have played it. In a couple games, you'll see you could play a game on an Amiga, a Mega Drive, or a Genesis. Like the actual format of the game based on the console will be accurate.
Absolutely. I saw that. Earthworm Jim, you have both the Super Nintendo and the Genesis version of it.
Yeah, it's important because if you had the Genesis or Mega Drive version, you remember it that way, and there's always those nuances and different ways it plays. So like I was playing California games on the Amiga, and then I was playing California games on the Mega Drive. It's just a totally different game, So yeah, that stuff's important to us. Our goal is to get every game, and really, we're starting to bring some independent games in, some modern retro games in that were made in 2020. We've got games like Reshoot R or Mike and Molly that were just made, but in retro fashion. So we're ambitious, but we really want to just bring all these games to people and, have a lot of fun with it.
And we got to say the big names: Mortal Kombat, Pac-Man, Metal Slug, Worms, Space Invaders. The list goes on and on. Like you said, 4,000 games, 1,100 available. And the cool thing is Antstream's available PC, Android, Atari VCS, NVIDIA Shield, smart TVs, Fire Stick, everything pretty much, right?
Yeah, our goal is to be everything everywhere, ubiquitous across all platforms. And from a tech standpoint, it's a very ambitious thing to do, So we originally were in the Xbox, which was awesome, and then Xbox kind of pulled us and put us into. We used to be an Xbox as an entertainment package, kind of like Spotify and Netflix, and then all of a sudden Xbox moved us to games, and we had to do a lot of work, and so we're still working through the checklist. So we will be back on Xbox. Ideally, our vision would be to be on Xbox, be on PlayStation, be on Switch, be everywhere. You can just play Antstream on any device, anywhere. And, the challenge of your friends are on an Xbox and you're on a PlayStation shouldn't be an issue, because you could challenge each other in some fun Pac-Man game or Mortal Kombat and play together. It doesn't matter what console you're on. All phones and everything. So that's our goal.
Hey, everyone, it's just Duck jumping in here real quick to say thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. If you're enjoying it, head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or iTunes, and give We Are Podcast Network a like. And if you get a chance, head over to our social media. All links can be found in the description. You can find us at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at /We Are Podcast. And with that, back to the podcast. And the other thing you mentioned was the low latency. This is not downloading the ROM or the game and playing it. It is actually streaming it. And you can't tell the difference. Like playing it, there was no lag. There was no miscommunication in the button inputs or anything like that. It was rocking. And I know that you told the story about somebody in South Africa playing a game perfectly emulated. And it's just one of those things where you're not going to find lag in this. This is how you want to play it. You're not even going to know that it's streaming. It's just going to be in front of you and you're good to go.
It's an interesting topic. Like, a couple of years ago, we've been obsessed about lag. No gamer wants lag. And, that's crucial. And we know that's, you live or die by the edge of that. But we also know that game streaming is the future. Yeah, there's consoles and there's collectors and physical and all that. And that stuff's always going to be important. It's going to be a part of our history. But if you talked about gaming, gaming is going to the cloud, right? It's going to happen. It just has to. Yeah. So getting that lag and latency right is crucial. And I think we've cracked it. If you talked to me 2 years ago, we had some lag and some people would test it and review it and go, oh, it's too much lag for me. I don't notice lag. I play all the time now. We'll get some speedrunners who'll say, well, I'm not going to do a speed run on Antstream because they have their perfect controller and, they got to have everything right. I think it could work for a speed run. But I think it's crucial. If we want to succeed in this business, we have to have no latency or else you just won't play it.
And speaking of something like a speed run or like a full playthrough, these are the actual games. So you're going to get the Pac-Man kill screen if you go all 256 levels. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you get the broken level. I would say if you're going to do that, play on a really high speed internet with nothing else going on and make sure that you're wired as opposed to Wi-Fi, because the hardest part about streaming is not just us. We could be delivering 100% perfect product, but your ISP might be, the net neutrality stuff might hurt you. So you got to make sure that you prioritize. Say if you're playing Antstream, prioritize Antstream, make sure on a wired connection if you're really serious and doing a speed run. The cool thing about speedruns, we do these little challenges. So we've created a lot of I hate the word, but I'm going to use it, snackable. Everyone hates that word.
See, I read that earlier and I was like, you know what? It makes sense though, because when you talk snackable, it's you're playing 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 15 minutes there. But you got me on the BK challenge, and I'm going to continue to call it that because your photos on there with the wild hair. And yeah, it was wild, man. I love it. It's great. But it calls you to the challenge, and it was Space Invaders, and you had to defeat a certain amount of aliens. I think it was 89, I think is what.
Yeah, this one's laser accuracy. So you miss one shot, you're out.
You're out. And it was so much fun. I literally spent an hour today playing it because I'm like, I've got to beat them. And I couldn't get past the 29th rank in it. But it was fun. And it's great because the UI, the user interface for Antstream is amazing. It took everything from the front ends created for emulators and just upped it by 100%. And so it's like a perfect UI. You go in, you choose your game, but getting to the challenges, and you've ran a multitude of different challenges. There's still right now the Joust challenge going on.
Yeah. Oh, that's one of my, I grew up on, I love Joust. I used to play that in the arcade, man. That game was just crazy fun.
It's rough, dude. I tried playing the Joust challenge. I didn't get one ostrich out.
There's a lot of people that don't like Joust because it's a hard game, but I love Joust, man. I think it's a great game. But some of the challenges are hard, man. You're right.
So with this challenge, though, specifically, getting the certain amount of aliens, you can't miss a shot. There are so many times I was Qbert cursing at the end. Like, I was just dropping some bombs because it really is fun and exciting and hard to get through. And is it crystals, rubies? What do you win? What is the...
Well, gems, and we're actually working on our gem economy. So the gems are going to start becoming more and more valuable. So if you're listening early stage, get as many gems as you can. If you're listening as the gems are there, keep getting gems. But look, that Space Invaders is exactly what we try to do with the challenge because it is so easy and your brain goes, this is really easy. I can do this. And then you play it and you miss your first shot and then your brain goes, wait a minute. And then so it makes you keep playing and playing and playing because you're like, I know I can do this. And I think I put up 116 today just before the call. And I wish I could say I only had an hour. I bet you I got about 800 hours on that particular challenge. Because your brain goes, I know I can do it. And then you can't do it. And then so it makes you come back and back and back, and keep trying it. But creating these snackable challenges, we got a couple games like Earthworm Jim or even the Star Wars one where we can fast forward to like one of the biggest boss levels that normally a casual gamer will never play. Right. So we might get you to the elevator level of Earthworm Jim, which most people aren't going to spend that much time on to get that far. Or in Star Wars, you can turn yourself into Chewbacca, and most people don't get to that far. So we give people a chance to see games later stages. But then also, instead of investing 20 hours into a game to get that far, to get to 256 on Pac-Man, it takes you like 2 days, 30, 40 hours, something like that. But we have the Galaxian Challenge on Pac-Man, allows you to play the hardest challenge on Pac-Man, and you get to see what it's like to be Billy Mitchell. The longest I lasted was 16 seconds, and it's like, it was just crazy. So it gives you an opportunity to see parts of the game that you might normally not see. And also just pop in, play a quick game and pop out rather than really committing your whole day, because some of us have day jobs now,
Yeah, and that's the wonderful thing. If you're at work, you can load this up. I believe it works in web browsers also, doesn't it? Or is it still?
Well, that's a nice precursor. Not yet. It will very soon.
Okay, I know that it's coming to web browsers. So
it is coming to WebRTC for sure. It's something we're working on, but yeah, that will happen.
But it doesn't matter if you're at work, you're on your phone, you can still play it. So you're good to go. Download it.
You can play on Android now, you can play on your phone. And it's actually a really good experience with you got touch controls, and you can also Bluetooth your Xbox controller into your phone, and you can play with the controller on your phone, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I was thinking it's probably the best conversion of Pac-Man, to be honest with you. I was playing it earlier, and I was like, this is so simple to play, easy. I carry a lot of the times my Nintendo DS with me, a lot of places, my 3DS. And so now I'm like, well, I don't even have to do that because I got this on my phone. So if I want to play a quick game, boom, you're in. And especially for that retro feel. I was going to ask, what's the difference between the free versus the paid? Because I know that there is a subscription service still. Is that
you're observant. Yeah, no, we will be introducing ads. Ooh, everybody hates ads, but we got to pay the bills. So you soon will have, as a free user, you'll come in, you got to watch an ad. You watch an ad, you earn gems. The gems will then be a way for you to open up games. You want to play a challenge, play in a tournament, you got to use gems to buy your way into the tournament. If you don't have enough gems, you can either pay a subscription, or you can come in and do a micropayment where you drop in a little bit and you get a bunch of gems, then you can go and buy it. Or you can do a monthly subscription and have no ads. So it'll be an option for you. So it just depends on how you want to play and how you want to pay. But it is a business at the end of the day, and we got to make sure our licensors get paid, and we got to make sure that we can pay the bills. It's not going to be, kind of free. But the difference is, I guess, we have connected leaderboards and these challenges, which is very different. You can't do that on anything else. Can't do that on physical. You can't do that on that. So we think it's worth paying for the service.
And building a community. You have a Discord.
Discord is fun, man. We have a great time. Our moderators even today tell us they think we have the nicest Discord channel they've ever seen. Everyone's really friendly. There's no hate. It's just all love and fun. And we, a lot of these guys are great gamers, and they go in there and, instead of competing in tournaments, everyone helps each other out with strategies and how to beat the games and finding the loopholes. So it really is a positive vibe, genuinely fun Discord channel. So, jumping into the Antstream Discord is something I'd love everyone to do.
So what's going on with Twitch? Do you have affiliations with other streamers?
Great question. Twitch is important. We work with a lot of streamers. So we've got Trista Bytes, we've got Kim Justice, we've got Retrograde Tom, we've got Ash Said Hi, we've got Slopes Game Room. So we've got a lot of retro gamers that are streaming for us, and they're part of our team. So technically, we're using them to show Antstream off. It's their audience, their channel. We let them just go with it.
I'm a small channel. I'm just starting out too. So I appreciate you even inviting me on to do a podcast. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, man, we're gonna do a We Are podcast tournament, man. We'll get your name and lights, and we'll tell people to go listen to you, and then we'll see if we can get you some, because our guys are, our fans are pretty fun, and they love all things retro. And if we can introduce them to other retro super fans, then man, why not, right? We're just connecting the globe.
Oh, dude, that's so awesome. Like I said, whenever you invited me on, I was just like, I don't even know what's going on. I ran to my girlfriend. I was like, this is so exciting.
Yeah, man, it's cool. Look, man, I just like to reach out to people, and I'm a talker, man. I love to talk. I'm in England. I'm American. I like to talk. We're born and raised talk. So anyone wants to talk about cool stuff, I'm in. I don't even care if 10, 20, 30 people listen to it, whatever. We'll try to help promote it. And we really take supporting kind of small creators and up and comers. We take it really seriously. There are people, and we like to help people kind of grow their own business, and if you can do it, you talk about us, we'll talk about you, and maybe we'll all get famous someday.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Or at least make a living off of it. That would be cool too. With Antstream, what do we expect to see in the future? Where is this going? What are the goals for the company and for the consumers? What do you want to provide to them specifically that we're seeing in the future? I know one thing is games from newer generation consoles. Is that kind of where we're going eventually?
Yeah, like I said, Pong to now. I mean, we want every game. We love independent creators. We've estimated there's 150,000 at least retro games out there. Some of them are just lost forever that you'll never find or see. Piecing together the licensing, I mean, I wish, it's hard to get an appreciation for it until you see it firsthand. But to the amount of licenses we've had, Darren Melbourne, our license director, is just incredible. These guys are finding games and telling those license holders, the history of the games that they own, because they've been passed on sometimes on cocktail napkins. So we'd really like to get every game. So if we had 100,000, retro games in our platform, that'd be incredible. New modern games, place for independent creators. We want to be the de facto place for you to come find some fun and find games. And I think we're pretty unique. There's a couple people trying to do what we're doing, but I think we're so far ahead as far as where we are with the games and the platform and the UI. We're pretty excited about it, man. So just trying to get this out, to the world. And this is what I do. If I can jump on your podcast and one person goes and checks out Antstream, that's a win to me. And then they tell their friends. We want people to find fun and challenge their friends and be on our tournament leaderboards. And to me, the more people in there, the more fun it is.
And I think once people start taking on these challenges and they realize how much fun they are, they're going to get addicted to the platform. They're going to just be jumping in there, checking every couple of days, because the challenges are only, 48 hours at a time or a little bit longer than that?
Yeah, so we do tournaments. So we have challenges that are always on, or we do tournaments, and sometimes they're anywhere from 3 days to 10 days. And we work with a Facebook group, Retro Games Forever, and they got a 30-day running tournament. We could kind of do them any duration, really. We work with all sorts of people and say, well, you want a tournament? What do you want? And soon we have a new product coming out called Giant Slayer, and that's going to be really cool. Basically, you could go in and be the giant, and then your fans and everybody come in and try to slay you. And kind of like what we're doing with this BK Lounge, the Space Invaders tournament. It's kind of like, hey, here's my score, and then the community comes in and tries to beat you. So it's going to be a pretty cool feature. So we just want fan engagement, people to come in and play and work together and just try to experience retro games in a way they never have before, because it's sort of a new twist on some classic titles.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great platform. I really do think that you guys are doing something unique and fun here. And like I said, getting the community involved is really what it's all about. And we're out there. We're still loving retro. You can see in the background, I got the Pac-Man blanket. I got all the stuff over here. Like you look
like a nut, man. You got it all. You're Pac-Man, Centipede, Pitfall. You love Pac-Man. That looks like Tetris.
Love Pac-Man. That little Pac-Man doll you see right there, I've had since I was 2 years old.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember playing like my 84, 85 somewhere. My dad played in an Atari Pac-Man tournament. The Atari Pac-Man just wasn't the greatest version, but he was in an Atari Pac-Man tournament. He took third, and I just thought he was the coolest guy on earth, man. It was like, I remember they just walked out in the middle of this like department store, and they wheeled out the old TVs, and all these old guys just sat there and played Pac-Man. And ever since then, I thought Pac-Man is just, it's the game, man. It's it.
Yeah, my father got in trouble with my mother because he went and bought an Atari with the Space Invaders, the original. It was like 250, $300 at the time. And he was in so much trouble. But whatever, he got to play it and he enjoyed it. And I remember hearing the story and just thinking that's something else. And I grew up crippled. I grew up not able to walk. I had leg braces. I didn't walk well, I should say. I had leg braces like Forrest Gump. So video games became my safe haven. That's what I did for fun, and that's where I felt safe. And like you were saying, you were a latchkey kid, so being able to go to the arcade so you had something to do in the afternoons. You know, there's something about video games that rests deep in the soul of a gamer, and it makes them feel comfortable, it makes them feel happy, it entertains them, and it has a place in our history, and that's why we talk about it to this day.
You know, look, the level of therapy that video games offer is a wider, you know, disabled people to like me, you know, like I said, I was pretty hard ADHD. Like I was a spaz, you know, and the only time I'd ever really sit down was playing video games. And I think there's a lot of people that have some sort of something that video games gave them an outlet or a channel and made the world feel all right. And that's why it's such a huge industry. I mean, it's not just because it's fun and we're just a bunch of fun. It's just because it means a lot to a lot of people. And it means a lot of different things to a lot of people, you know, and it is an equal playing field. So anyone with anything, you know, there's no advantage or disadvantage. We can all be as good as each other, which is cool.
The one last thing I want to ask you, Antstream does provide multiplayer.
Right now, it's asynchronous. So that you can play multiplayer if you're on the same screen or the same device. If you're sitting next to each other, you guys can play Mortal Kombat together. You can play Karate Champ. But I can't play multiplayer with me in London and you in where you are. Where are you, by the way?
Texas.
Texas. Oh, that's right. I knew that. I can't play in London, you in Texas, and we play together because I think then you would have, because we're dealing with different devices, different ISPs, and I think it would be a little bit of you don't want any lag in it. If Mortal Kombat and we lag for a second and I knock you out, you're going to be pissed. So, but if we were sitting on the same computer, we could play. But asynchronous, the challenges are asynchronous multiplayer. So I can do a challenge, send it to you, and then you can play it when you want. So we can do it on our own time zone. I think that's kind of key. So you know, you can play in the morning and I can play at night or whatever. But we'll get there someday. But I think right now we're really focused on a user experience.
Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think we're good, man. I think, look, my goal is to get people to join our Discord channel, get people to come in and play our challenges, and just check us out. And I'd love people to talk about us. If every retro fan told their other friend about us, then that's music to my ears. Because everyone I talk to, and we you know, if we get a hold of someone, they play it and they love it. Very rarely do we get feedback that says this sucks. You know, everybody loves it. And so the more people that we can get just to see it and know it, that's all that matters to me. There's a cool thing too. I mean, you're in Texas, you probably didn't get to play a lot of these UK games. And there's some cool games in here that are from UK creators, even like the Dizzy games and you know, some of the old like Boulder Dash and some of the games that might not have been as big, even Worms from you know, I think it's Team 17 and those guys. There's some great UK video games in there that a lot of Americans are finding as rediscovery of new games, which is cool.
Yeah, I noticed that Boulder Dash was like one of the first highlighted ones, and I was like, they're totally a UK company. I said it because that is totally one of the best games over there. And I saw you had the Dizzy games. I thought that was pretty cool.
So just type in Dizzy the search bar and you'll find, I think there's like 40 or 50 Dizzy games.
Oh, crazy. Yeah. Oh, those guys.
A couple others, like our big boss CEO, Steve Cottam. The reason he started this company, he loves games, but Manic Miner was his big game. But Manic Miner is a big time UK game. Anyone who's in their 40s out here probably grew up on that game. And I don't know if that even made it to America. It's worth checking out and you'll see what UK retro was back in the 80s.
Well, Brandon, I appreciate you talking to us today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down and do this podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here.
Look, man, like I said, we want to support you and help you. And we love that you love Antstream, and that's all that matters. And I just enjoy talking to you, man. And so it's cool. You know, look, let's be friends and hang out and see you on leaderboards and jump in our Discord. And I hope if I'm ever in Texas, we'll come by and we'll go find an arcade and play some Pac-Man or Ms. Pac-Man together, huh?
Dude, I know where they're all at, so just let me know. And we'll definitely jam down to one. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And there it is. Thank you again so much for checking out the podcast today. If you enjoyed it, head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, and iTunes, and give We Are Podcast Network a like. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, you're going to love the other podcasts here on the We Are Podcast Network. We have We Are Air, where we talk movies, entertainment, whatever the fuck we want to talk about. That's me, that's Jake, and that's Hobby. We're breaking down that pop culture, and we're having so much fun. Heroes, Gyros, a Dungeons and Distractions side quest. Me and the boys were playing some D&D. You can start that one from Season 1, Episode 1. It's a blast the whole way through. And I Hate Being Sober. Personal stories from epic people. I sit down with some of my favorite people of all time. We talk about their trials, their tribulations, and their journey this far. And finally, our new live video podcast, Slash Horrorcast, where we're going to have a roundtable discussion about our favorite horror movies. That'll be available on Twitch and YouTube, streaming every Monday at 8 p.m. Check the links in the description to find out what movies we'll be watching. Also, check the links in the description for our social media. You can find us at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at /We Are Podcast Network. With that said, thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. Please remember to support local comedy in any way that you can. We'll see you next time.